The Story of Michael Bisping Part 2. The Ultimate Fighter. When Michael Bisping arrived in Las Vegas in 2006, he was a man with nothing left to lose. He had left his jobs, his family, and the only country he had ever known, all for a television show. This show was called The Ultimate Fighter. It was a competition, part reality show and part brutal tournament. A group of fighters would live together in a house, cut off from the world, and fight each other one by one. The last man standing in each weight class would be given a six-figure contract to fight in the UFC. For Bisping, this was not a game. It was the only escape route from the life of a factory worker and a plasterer. The show was run by two coaches who were legends of the sport, Tito Ortiz and Ken Shamrock. These two men famously hated each other, and their rivalry was the backdrop for the entire season. Bisping was chosen to be on Team Ortiz. From the moment he walked into the house, it was clear he was different. He was not a quiet, humble athlete. He was loud. He was English. And he was full of a sharp, biting humor that the American fighters did not know how to handle. He was, as many would soon discover, brilliantly irritating. Bisping loved to play pranks. He loved to talk. He saw the mental side of the game just as clearly as the physical side. He knew that if he could get inside his opponents' heads, he could beat them before they ever stepped into the cage. This made him a target. The other fighters saw him as arrogant, a foreigner with a big mouth. Bisping saw them as obstacles. His first fight on the show was against a tough fighter named Christian Rothermel. Bisping was nervous, but he hit it with his usual confidence. The fight began, and it was clear that Bisping's striking, honed from years of kickboxing, was on another level. He was fast, precise, and relentless. He attacked with combinations of punches and kicks, overwhelming his opponent. He won the fight by technical knockout or TKO. He had made a statement. His next fight was in the semifinals, against another Team Ortiz member, Ross Poynton. This was a hard fight for Bisping, not because of the skill, but because he had become friends with Ross. But this was a competition. Bisping went out and did his job, again winning by knockout and earning his place in the final. He had torn through his side of the bracket. He had proven that the loudmouthed Brit could back up every single word. One of the other fighters in the house was a man named Matt Hamill. Hamill was a standout wrestler and, unlike Bisping, was very quiet. He was also deaf. Bisping, in his typical way, made comments and jokes that many, including Hamill, found disrespectful. Bisping would later say he was young, immature, and just trying to be competitive. But the damage was done. A rivalry was born in that house, a seed of conflict that would grow into a major controversy later on. On June 24, 2006, Michael Bisping walked out in front of a live Las Vegas crowd for the Ultimate Fighter 3 finale. His opponent was Josh Haynes. This was it. Everything he had sacrificed, the time in his car, the slaughterhouse jobs, the doubts of his family. It all came down to this one night. The fight began and Bisping was sharp. He used his long reach to keep Haynes at a distance, picking him apart with jabs and crosses. In the second round, Bisping saw his opening. He hurt Haynes with a punch, and as Haynes staggered, Bisping refused to let him recover. He unleashed a storm of strikes, forcing the referee to step in and stop the fight. It was over. Michael Bisping fell to his knees, his hands over his face. He had done it. He was the first ever British winner of the Ultimate Fighter. He was officially a UFC fighter. With his new contract, Bisping became a star, especially in the United Kingdom. He was the poster boy for the UFC's expansion into Europe. He was winning, and his personality, which some Americans found annoying, made him a beloved hero back home. He was the Count, a nickname he got from his Polish noble ancestry, and he was undefeated. He won his next fight in the UFC, and then the UFC set up a fight that had been building since the reality show. In 2007, in his home country of England, Michael Bisping would fight his old rival from the house, Matt Hamill. This fight, at UFC 75 in London, would become one of the most controversial moments of his entire career. The fight was a classic clash of styles. Hamill was the powerful wrestler, and Bisping was the precise striker. From the first bell, Hamill put on intense pressure. He walked forward, took Bisping's punches, and used his wrestling to take Bisping down to the mat. Bisping, a jiu-jitsu practitioner, defended himself well from his back, but he was spending most of the fight in a defensive position. Hamill was controlling the action. The second round was closer. Bisping started to find his timing, landing good punches, but Hamill was relentless. He secured more takedowns, though he could not do much damage with them. Bisping kept getting back to his feet, showing incredible cardio and will. By the third round, Bisping knew he was likely losing. He had to change the fight. He started to use his footwork, moving away from Hamel's power and picking his shots. He was the faster, more technical boxer, and he began to land clean punches on Hamel, who was visibly tiring. Bisping's face was marked up and bruised, but he was finishing the fight as the stronger man. The final bell rang. The crowd in London was screaming for their hero, but many watching felt Hamel had done enough to win. He had controlled the location of the fight with his wrestling. But Bisping had landed more significant strikes, especially in the final round. It was an extremely close fight. The announcer read the scorecards. One judge scored it for Hamel. The other two, however, scored the fight for Michael Bisping. The arena exploded in cheers, but a storm of controversy erupted online. Fans in America screamed that Bisping had been given a hometown decision, a gift from the judges because the fight was in England. They said the loudmouth Brit had been exposed. Bisping, for his part, celebrated the win. He was still undefeated in his professional career, but the victory felt hollow to many. It was the first time that a massive portion of the audience had turned against him. He was no longer just the funny, cocky winner of a reality show. He was now one of the most hated villains in the sport. This controversy, this feeling of being the bad guy, would follow him, and it set the stage for his first true test, a fight against an undefeated American powerhouse that would change the entire course of his career.